The start of the new year turned deadly on Bourbon Street in New Orleans. The famous street still eerily quiet after those devastating moments as the city and the country struggle with so many questions about the brutal attack. Officials say they hope to reopen Bourbon Street just before today's Sugar Bowl kicks off. At least 14 victims, dozens more injured after police say a man in a rented truck plowed through a crowd of New Year revelers in the early hours of New Year's Day. The suspect is identified as a 42-year-old U.S. citizen and Army veteran from Texas who died in an exchange of gunfire with police at the scene of the tragedy. The FBI says he recently posted several videos proclaiming support for terror group ISIS.
And we are tracking the latest on the investigation, what authorities are calling a terror attack. And we began with ABC's Whit Johnson, who was on the ground today with the very latest in New Orleans. Good afternoon, Whit.
Hey, DeMarco and Rebecca, good afternoon. It's good to be with you. We're getting new information from officials. They just held a press briefing. The mayor, the governor, the FBI, ATF, all revealing new details in this deadly terror attack. And one of the key elements that they were emphasizing is that, yes, this is in fact an act of terror, as they're describing it, the suspect being radicalized or inspired by ISIS. But they wanted to make clear that after reviewing hundreds of surveillance videos, they've determined that nobody else was involved in this attack. They do not think that there are any other co-conspirators in this. They also wanted to say at this time there's no definitive evidence that there's any connection between what happened here in New Orleans and that explosion in Las Vegas involving the Cybertruck in front of a Trump hotel. So again, over the course of 24 hours, they've gained a lot of information from interviews, all the surveillance video and the evidence that they've poured over on the scene. Another key detail that we learned today is that the city of New Orleans is trying to reopen for the Sugar Bowl that's happening later today. Right behind me, this is that intersection where the deadly attack played out. And off in the distance, that's where the suspect actually drove his F-150 truck around a police patrol car onto the sidewalk and carried out his killing spree. Well, now officials are telling us that they are cleaning up this crime scene. They are removing the evidence markers. We actually saw them bringing in new barricades because that was a big question, is what was happening with the bollards and the barricades on New Year's Eve. How was the suspect able to get around the patrol car? Well, they're bringing out new barriers to help deal with the crowds today, and they insist that they're going to be ready for the Sugar Bowl. Another thing that I just wanted to note is, as they're putting these pieces together, the governor described it as like a jigsaw puzzle, right? You have all these different pieces, and sometimes you have to move them around to finally get your answer and put the puzzle together. And that's how they're dealing with this. And they're saying in the interest of transparency, they're also asking for patience, which is why some of the information has maybe changed from 24 hours ago. They also talked about the suspect, gave more clarity on the timeline and his travels from Texas, where he rented his truck on New Year's Eve day, and then how he came here to New Orleans. They said during that time he posted 5 videos to social media, and that in those videos he said that he originally planned to harm his own family and his friends, but then thought that the message wouldn't get through and wouldn't be publicized enough. So that's when he changed his mind and decided to carry out this sort of terrorist attack here. They also say that he stated that he joined ISIS before the summer and actually provided a will and testament to his family. Again, this suspect, born and raised in the United States, he's an Army veteran who served in Afghanistan, and that's the latest now from New Orleans.
All right, Whit, thank you.
All of those pieces of evidence they're putting together. And now we turn to some of the people who are having to pick up the pieces after experiencing the horror firsthand. Ruth Chavez and her son Jonathan were in the quarter when the driver began that deadly assault.
And Ruth and Jonathan are both joining us right now. Guys, it is good to see you and glad that you are safe. Ruth, first to you, what was going through your mind in the midst of all of this chaos?
Well, we were just enjoying our vacation. It was day 3 of our trip. We just celebrated in Jackson Square, and the night was kind of winding down. And since my son is only 17, we were just kind of hanging out around Bourbon Street and just enjoying the scenery, enjoying the music, enjoying the people. And we happened to step foot into a bar that was playing live music. And right when that happened, we heard gunshots and people running, and they shut the doors and they locked us in there and told us to get down. And when we came back out, right away we saw the vehicle of the driver smashed into the light thing. And we didn't really know what happened. And we saw a young man that was getting CPR performed on him. They were trying so hard to save him, and he was not breathing. And we just stood there in complete disbelief and in tears. And there was nothing we could do to help or anything we can do. And it was just really scary, but we were saved by that place. If it wasn't for them, for us going in there, we would have been in the direct path of the driver.
Just thank goodness for that. And you both have now experienced the unthinkable. Jonathan, what did you see and hear throughout the experience?
I heard really loud, like it was very clear what was going outside, and people were freaking out. So it made us, very like high alert, like super, super fast. And it happened so quickly. It was like a blur. And right after, it was just so quiet. And after such a great night for, everything, for that to happen, it was just, it was horrible. I've never seen nothing like it. Like, body was on the floor, and it was horrible. Like, it was graphic and scary.
I could only imagine. Just glad to know that they are both safe there. Thanks again, Ruth and Jonathan.